From a pure gameplay stance, Sonic Generations was a game that I immensely loved playing. Not only was it a fitting, proper celebration of the Sonic games up to that point, but it's also one of the few games that I could think of that getting every achievement and even going above and beyond the normie side of completion, whether it be getting S ranks on all the stages, getting S ranks on the boss fights, or even just spending everything at the point shop in order to unlock all the abilities, some of which are actually useful, others not so useful. And even for the console versions, getting enough points to get the coveted Sega Genesis cartridge, and even being able to play through the original Sonic the Hedgehog Genesis game. This for some reason was not put on PC, but that's besides the point. Legit, the only thing I didn't do was beating the final boss without being hit, because fuck that shit. And not to mention the Time Meter is probably one of the worst Deus Ex Machinas in a game that I can think of. And even though the story in Sonic Generations wasn't the greatest, it was simple, and it wasn't really the main focus point. I think when people play Sonic Generations, it was a way to celebrate the series up to that point, taking set pieces from the Genesis games to the 6th gen games and even the 7th gen games. And I think in that regard, the main version, i.e. the PlayStation 3 version, the Xbox 360 version, and even the PC version, I think it did a pretty good job on all fronts. So then come to find out that Sega wants to remaster this version, and not only pulling a Super Mario 3D Land by having a expansion to said game where you get to play as Shadow, but they also do the thing that almost every remaster seems to do nowadays, is by blatantly censoring shit that didn't need to fucking censor. Now, much like what I said in other Sonic videos, I have to make this extremely clear. I don't read the comics. I don't care for any media outside of the games. To me, the Sonic games are the things that actually matter. I don't care if people get pissed off that I'm ignoring the Archie or IDW canon, even though Sega has made it canon, but yet, by that logic point, there should have been actual crossovers with Mega Man or other things, or even having Scourge, Surge, whoever the fuck the blind character is, and the other lemur chick who apparently have a lesbian relationship or whatever is... It's fucking stupid. I don't care about the canon outside of the games, because at the end of the day, Sonic stemmed from the video games. And if it hasn't been introduced proper in the games, I don't fucking care. Now, that being said, the main reason why I kind of have to start giving a shit is because one of the lead writers of the games, I think his name is Ian Flynn or some shit, people in the Sonic fandom, whether they're part of the comic fandom or the game fandom, has a serious hate boner for this dude. And after looking at what was been changed for the redub of Sonic Generations, and yes, I have to say a English redub of Sonic Generations, I am officially converted that anything this dude has touched just goes into other shit. It's like the fairy tale of the king, where everything he touches turns into gold, except Ian Flynn, everything he writes turns into shit. And this is apparently because he doesn't get the characters, or that he has to needlessly reference shit, which to me just seems like 90% of like everything made now, because, you know, it's like Ready Player One, or how people disingenuously view something like Retro City Rampage.
Hey, pop culture references, go! And didn't really work on actually making their game anything other than a series of mini games just slapped together. It's contrived, it's very repetitive, it wears off very quickly, and it's boring.
Even coming from one of my favorite YouTubers as of late is kind of disappointing. There's still a lot more heart and soul to it than just pointless references like a John Wayne shooting film. Give them an inch, they take a mile, as they say. And this is exactly what's going on with the Sonic Generations remaster. And it's honestly disgusting that they're not only delisting the original version, but they're also adding in this new version with the inherited English redub. It's absolutely sickening that we're going to be seeing the absolute worst white knighters of Sonic saying that it's not that big of a deal, Ian Flynn's such a great writer, you know, making Amy say all those things is completely perverted, Rouge being covered up is not that big of a deal. Like, it's so fucking stupid. Like, can you imagine if other remasters had to completely redub their entire game to fit a more modern audience, as they call it? It's fucking gross. And especially seeing the whole retranslation of Paper Mario the Thousand Year Door should open your eyes on some shit. But now they're doing this shit with Sonic Generations, and the shit they're censoring is completely bonkers, dude. Sonic's hand on Amy's face sort of thing, redubbing Knuckles' line for no apparent reason, and even the whole clip of Amy going from, I was afraid I wouldn't be able to float with you again, but yet Ian Flynn thought that changing the line to, I'll be sure to repay you the favor sometime. That's not sexual innuendo, Mr. Flynn. Get the fuck out of here. I swear, people are going to probably find a way to make the game restore the original English dub, since this is just a completely unnecessary change, alright? Change whatever how you want with the Shadow expansion, which I should go on about how they're going to have a prologue that's exclusive to Sony platforms, which is already my initial drawing point of not bothering with it, since Sega's basically bending the knee by adding content, even if people are going to probably upload it to YouTube because it's apparently just a cinematic feature that's going to basically explain how and why you're doing shit. This would be like if you were to buy a Mega Man X game, but only the Sony version has the Day of Sigma prologue that was included in the PSP version of Mega Man X. I don't know what the hell the justification of this is going to be like. I know for a fact I'm not going to buy this shit, because if they wanted to just remaster Sonic Generations, fine. But they have to go about it in the most annoying way possible. Okay, I don't even care for Shadow. He's not even my favorite Sonic character. I personally think that Gamma is my favorite Sonic character, but ever since they introduced Omega, he's been in like more games than he should have been. And his character trait is just not that interesting to me. He just seems like a transition from Doom Guy to Doom Slayer, and that's not even a fucking ironic post. It's quite sad the only other time we've really seen Gamma is the reworked enemy in Sonic Adventure 2 and the playable version that was in Sonic Battle. A game with actually decent writing that isn't obviously pandering and actually has more diverse of writing than these writers claim to have. Instead, it's the whole whatever the fuck this shit is on the XCOM, seriously. This says a lot, but that's an entirely different point that I'm not going to get into because it's just obvious rage baiting, I guess.